Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here and welcome to episode 19 of Gold Goes to the Movies. Feels like the real summer blockbuster season has kicked into gear now. A little bit of a pun there, if you know what's coming. It does though. It feels like we're at this stage that almost every week there's a big movie coming out, and that's certainly been the case in the last week or so. I went to see Jurassic World Rebirth, the latest of the dinosaur franchise. What else we had? F1, the movie. Technically it's called F1, but they seem to have tagged the movie into various ways of describing it, I guess, just to differentiate it from the sport itself. That's brought lots of thrills and spills, that movie. We've got on streaming, I watched Warfare, Fly Me to the Moon, caught up with an old classic that I'd only ever seen bits of, an old sports movie, Bull Durham, which was very enjoyable as well. But let's start right with the world of Jurassic. This Jurassic Park, technically, t-shirt, but Jurassic World Rebirth. Went to watch that last night. The newest instalment, the 7th instalment in the series. Wow, I mean, the first one all those years ago, written by Michael Crichton, the book, and obviously turned into a movie by Steven Spielberg. I did it the other way around all those years ago. I read the book first. So actually, when I went to see the cinema on the first time of seeing it, I was a bit like, oh, they didn't use that bit. They didn't use that bit. Oh, it's quite disappointing. And I kind of wasn't part of the initial buzz that I think that a lot of people got from the movie. Whereas I think when I rewatched it, I think I actually went to cinema again to watch it because so many people were raving about it. I think I saw a lot of the technical qualities that Spielberg brought. You know, Spielberg's one of my favourite, if not my favourite director. So I can appreciate what it brought, but obviously bringing that book into a movie, it's quite a complicated process. It's why we've seen so many parts of that book across various films that came next, including the 7th as well. I mean, let's start with the director this time around, I guess. It's a Brit. It is Gareth Edwards, who brought us Godzilla, Rogue One, although we know all the behind-the-scenes stuff, or I'm sure people would. If you don't have a little look at it all, wasn't his favourite moment, I don't think, being in the Star Wars universe, but actually ended up pretty much probably bringing us one of the best post-original trilogy movies, to be honest. It was really good, Rogue One. I enjoyed that, and having just finished Andor, which led into it nicely. The Creator, that's another one he did, which I think I spoke in a previous video about. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was an excellent movie. Not everyone agreed, but I thought it was really impressively made, especially for the low budget that it had. All of which brings us to his turn in the world of the Jurassic, of the dinosaurs. And I liked it. It's not perfect. It's not reinventing the wheel. But what I did feel it had over some of its predecessors was that it feels more in keeping with the original. It's more in keeping with the way Spielberg wanted these movies to be. It's got some Spielbergian touches to it as well. Even a little nod to Jaws at one point. And when I speak about scenes from the book that never made it into the movies, one of them absolutely makes it into this movie. And I've been waiting so many years for it. And it did not disappoint. It's probably, I might be biased because I've been waiting for it so long, but probably the best part of the movie for me. It's absolutely fantastic. It is heart-stopping. It is genuinely terrifying. And this whole movie apparently came from a Spielberg idea, which he helped craft with David Cope, the guy that wrote the original movie from Crichton's book, of course. Apparently there's a few lines in this movie that were unused ones from his script for the first movie. There's also one little monologue from the book that turns up in this as well. Let me know if you spot it. And I know what it is, but I'm not going to tell you what it is because it gives away, well, it doesn't give too much away, but it gives away a little part. And these are meant to be spoiler-free reviews. And what I would say is, because this one is untethered from the other two trilogies, there's little mentions of names here and there that link it slightly to the different worlds of both trilogies. It's kind of its own thing, and that allows it to be, I'd say, darker, more suspenseful. Back on an island for a start, which I think is so important for it as well. There's a big old section on water, but mainly it's on an island. And I think the Jurassic World trilogy, the Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard trilogy kind of ended up becoming this big globe-trotting huge affair. It kind of became a little bit bigger than it needed to really be, with just, the beauty of Jurassic Park is it's dinosaurs chasing humans on an island. That's all you really need. It's not a hugely imaginative formula now, all these years on, but ultimately that's when it's at its best. And yeah, I felt like this film had elements of horror in there. There was bits of humour too. But very much it's a darker entity for me than the recent movies in this franchise. And it takes a little while to get going. Definitely does that. I would say the kind of first maybe half an hour or so, it's a little bit like, okay, come on, what are you building up to? But then maybe if you've got through that, you're a little bit closer to the characters, and perhaps that helps you in the second half of the movie rather than being thrust slap bang. There is a little prologue to begin with. I think it's 17 years ago, if I remember correctly. That gives you a kind of a big early moment, but after that, there's a lot of setting of the scene, a lot of setting of the characters, a lot of what's happened since the ending of was it Jurassic World Dominion. The last one of the previous trilogy. And look, there's some top-notch acting talent in here. You've got Scarlett Johansson, who is just an absolute movie leader. She is someone that, you can hang your movie upon. And yeah, apparently she pitched to be in this because she loves the Jurassic movies so much. She pitched to Spielberg to join the film. And she leads it all as Zora Bennett. I think they call her Z, technically. We call her Z, obviously, over here in the UK. She's a tough mercenary with a heart, is probably the best way to describe her. Mahershala Ali is in here as well. Strong support as another tough mercenary with a heart. Then you've got Jonathan Bailey. You might have most recently probably seen him in Wicked. He's kind of a bit of meant to be the comedic element to a degree. As a paleontologist with a heart. And you've got Rupert Friend, who is the pharmaceutical executive, not so much of the heart. Quick note on Jonathan Bailey. He also plays the clarinet solo on his own character's theme in the score. Very talented chap. Very talented indeed. Reportedly, Jennifer Lawrence turned down a role in the movie. I don't know if it was going to be Scarlett Johansson's one, because apparently Scarlett Johansson's role was meant to be, it wasn't kind of gender specific. It hadn't been decided during the process whether it could have been a man or a woman. Maybe it was Jennifer Lawrence. Glenn Powell, I remember publicly coming out and claiming that he turned down a role in this movie. Who knows what that might have been. I don't think he mentioned exactly what one it was. By the way, never forget the golden rule of Jurassic movies. We have to throw children into the peril. And in this one, there's a family led by Manuel Garcia Rulfo, who this family just, thrown right into it, thrown into the whole world of Jurassic danger. And there's some nice little moments with them. This man and his two daughters and the boyfriend of one of the daughters that he clearly doesn't really want to be there. And they end up being part of this big nightmare, really, to be honest with you, from what they were planning on doing. And yeah, the plot, if you're wondering, other than just dinosaurs, surrounds getting samples from the largest remaining dinosaurs that exist on Earth, because they do. If you've watched the previous trilogy, you'll know they still do exist. And they are around, and they're not in a good way, let's put it that way, but there is an area of the world where they are currently thriving. And so this team have to go to this area, get these three largest remaining dinosaurs, and extract kind of samples from them, which will help this pharmaceutical company create a drug that will massively slow down heart disease. And apparently this was all part of the kind of the Spielberg idea. And to do that, they must go to an island where, how do we put this? Plenty of dinosaur experiments were going on. So you can imagine all kinds of gene splicing malarkey that's gone on there to create all kinds of complete nightmares of dinosaurs and things like that. And that's all part of this idea from Spielberg. And it works on the whole. Once it gets going, it works. I would say it kind of really kicks in as you're getting close to the island. That's the key for me. When that happens, all bets are off. CGI is good. It is kind of, it's very, very well presented. The dinosaurs and creations that we see in this movie are very effective. Like I said, look, it doesn't reinvent the wheel. If you're going in to expect something completely different and crazy and nothing like the previous films, that's not the case here. Like I'd say, it lends itself more for me to the first film, maybe elements of the second film as well, Lost World. And yeah, it's, look, I know we've seen dinosaurs chasing humans a lot now, which is the legacy, I guess, of these movies. But I would say it probably is the most suspenseful in certain moments since the original. For me, the not an exact comparison, but what I would say, a bit like Alien Romulus, we kind of got this feeling of nostalgia and also this real kind of dark horror kind of angle to it. I would say it's a bit like that. It's got the nostalgia of the originals, but probably goes even deeper and darker. I had a friend asked if ahead of me watching it, could I let them know if their 5-year-old child could watch it? No, no, definitely not. Definitely not. This is not a 5-year-old's movie. There's some scary, I mean, straight from the off, your 5-year-old child is not going to want to be in that cinema, I would imagine. And like I said, so I watched it on opening night, the previews over here in the UK. Box office figures aren't in yet. It's expected to do kind of bring in less than the last trilogy, but all those movies, but still perform decently. I think the initial numbers from the early days have been pretty good, or projections they like to call them, don't they? It's got a reported $180 million budget to claw back in. See what it did. And I think the franchise as a whole is big enough that I'm sure it will be fine and it will make a profit. I saw something, because you have so much else than the actual just reported budget. I think I read somewhere that it can make less than $1 billion and still make a project. And I know that a project make less than not make a loss. Oh, you know where I was going with that. It went all over the place. It was a bit of a disaster. But you know what I meant. To make a profit, it can be less than $1 billion for them. It's because there's all other stuff, isn't there? There's marketing, merchandise, every other kind of bits and pieces they've got to put money into. So that's Jurassic World Rebirth. I enjoyed it. It's not up there with like the very best kind of thing, but it's certainly, I'd say I probably enjoyed it more than, I'd say, the recent Jurassic World movies. Although they had elements that I loved in them, I felt like this felt more like a pure Jurassic Park type movie. I'd almost wish they'd used Jurassic Park rather than Jurassic World in the title. So yeah, that's that. Go and see it. Let me know what you think. Up next, I probably preferred this movie more, and that surprised me. And that is F1, which potentially could be the start of its own franchise, maybe, as well. And look, the biggest compliment I can maybe give this film is I'm not a huge fan of Formula One, but I loved this film. I went by myself in the middle of the day, earlier in the week, and I just really enjoyed it. I really bought into it. I really got into it all. My biggest issue with the sport of F1 itself, Formula One, is that I like the start, the opening laps. I like the end laps. I like some of the pit stop dramatic things that go on. I just don't like the 40 or so laps in the middle. That's when it loses me. I'm a bit like, okay, going round and round and round. I know there's a strategy element to it, and there's a lot more to it than my brain sees. But it's a bit like, okay. Whereas this movie, maybe it's made for people like me as well, that it dispenses with anything that isn't adrenaline pumping and says, yeah, we don't need that. You get rid of that. That's fine. And it just throws you into the action constantly. It's directed by Joseph Kosinski, who handled the action so well in Top Gun Maverick, a movie that I really, really enjoyed. He used in that movie these cutting-edge camera techniques, put them in the plane, and what he's done this time, he's kind of put them in the F1 cars, but he's how to describe this? He's had to make so many changes because they needed to drive these cars at speed. I'm trying to remember now if it actually was an F1 car. I think it might have been a Formula 2 or 3 car kitted out like an F1 car. But regardless, they had to lighten the load and kind of pioneer new filming techniques, and you genuinely feel like you were in the car. I wish I had watched it on an IMAX screen. I wish I had. I watched it on a standard screen. It's still brilliant, but I would imagine the sensations and the visceral nature of it on a IMAX screen would have been incredible. What I think it also has in its corner is it's got Lewis Hamilton, obviously 7-time world champion, as one of the producers, and had a big kind of consultancy role in this film. Another producer, of course, the legendary Jerry Bruckheimer, and it had the full support of Formula One itself. And I think that shows in certainly the access they get. I'm sure some within the sport will point out many things that they feel are not realistic, but that's movies. Of course, they adjust things. They tweak things for dramatic effect is the best way to put it. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. Look, the main thrust of the plot is Brad Pitt's former Formula One prodigy, Sonny Hayes, recruited 30 years later after a life that has taken different twists and turns by his former teammate, played by Javier Bardem, who now owns the lowest ranked F1 team called APXGP. And I think that's quite clever, having them as this kind of underdog team rather than one of the big teams. It allows them to operate within the F1 world, but not slap bang among the big names and having to overuse kind of the interactions with the big names and everything. It's based on the 2023 season in F1. It's filmed that year and also into the following season because they had the SAG AFTRA strike, which obviously played a bit of havoc with that. But yeah, just everything about it feels like you were right in the middle of an F1 season. You've got Damson Idris, who plays the young, cocky British rookie Joshua Pearce that Hayes had to mentor along the way, and he's good. He's very good. He kind of treads this fine line between being very full of himself and you wanting him to fail, and also being quite vulnerable, and you can see why he acts like he does. You've got Kerry Condon as well, who's good value as the technical director of the team. Kate McKenna, she designs the cars. I do feel like her role could have done a bit of kind of meeting up, giving a bit more meat on the bones to it, because she's great on screen. Whenever she's involved, she's really, really good. And I would have liked to have seen more interaction, certainly between her and Brad Pitt, Sonny Hayes, but also the rest of the cast as well. But look, make no mistake, this is a Brad Pitt movie. You've got the cars, you've got Brad Pitt. That's what this is about. He dominates every scene like the huge movie star he is. Think kind of Redford, Newman, McQueen. He's just got that vibe about him. And, he looks incredible for a man of his age as well. Fair play. He looks like you could easily think a man of that age should not be racing F1 cars. And that's kind of part of the element of this, the plot as well. But you look at him and think, well, Brad Pitt can. And that's because he's phenomenal in this as well. And like I say, the technology of it is brilliant. The action is incredible. The script from Aaron Kruger, from a story from him and Kaczynski, it's good. It doesn't bring you lots of shocks and stuff like that, but it's got some emotional beats to it as well. But look, it needs Brad Pitt to centre it all, to anchor it all, and he is fantastic. If you love your F1, you'll get loads of cameos galore from various people within the sport, both on and off of the track as well. Look, a lot of money's been poured into it. You can see it all up in the screen. Apple are the company in charge of it all, and reports suggest anywhere between $200 million and $300 million were put into this film. And like I said, the technology is incredible. It's all up there. It's a terrific looking film. Only a few days in so far. I think it's made $162 million worldwide. I would expect that to keep climbing because the word of mouth, I think, is pretty good about it. Critics have mostly liked it as well. Talks of a sequel because it's performed so well so early on. And like I said, I've got IMAX booked for Superman when that comes out in a week or so's time. And I wish I'd done this for F1. I think because I maybe went in thinking, this could be good, but I'm not a massive Formula One fan. I just kind of was watching it. It's like, this would look so good on an even bigger, sharper screen. Really enjoyed it, honestly. Like I say, you don't have to be a huge F1 fan to really appreciate it. It's that good for me. And look, it's not the most. It's probably not going to win lots of acting Oscars or anything like that. I think it will win a fair few for technical things, but I had a really good time at the cinema, and that is ultimately what going to the cinema is about, for me anyway. So talking about big screens, flip to the small screen, and you've got Warfare on Amazon Prime, which I watched a couple of nights ago, which is chaotic, incredibly visceral story, true story about a platoon of Navy SEALs that got stuck while doing a surveillance mission in Iraq in 2006. It's an A24 production. It's directed and written by Alex Garland, but in a kind of a backseat role to Ray Mendoza. Ray Mendoza was the supervisor in Civil War on the military elements, and this film is very much based around his experiences during the Iraq War. And like I say, he's kind of front and center more of this director-writer combo team. But obviously you've got someone like Alex Garland, who I think he said was publicly stepping away from more directorial stuff and going back to his writing, which I think we saw with 28 Years Later, haven't we, recently? But his Garland's kind of filmmaking style just lends itself perfectly to this combo. Because talk about throwing yourself into a car in F1. This movie throws you into the chaos of war. It's very uncomfortable. It's very unpleasant at times. It is a eye-opening kind of movie in a certain aspects as well. You feel the explosions. You feel the mental scramble, I think, of these soldiers trying to work out what they're going to do in the fog of war, the horror of everything that's happening to them. I mean, look, there's a section in this movie, and this isn't giving anything really away because you know everything goes wrong, where there's one character and then another is just screaming for long periods, a really loud guttural scream of pain. And actually I was watching this late at night on my own while Mrs. Gold was up asleep in bed. I was actually generally having to turn the volume down because I was worried that first off it would wake her up, and secondly she would wonder what in the world I was watching. The cast is fantastic. It's this mix of kind of British and American and Canadian actors. You've got Defero Wunatai from Reservation Dogs, who plays Mendoza himself. You've got Will Poulter, Joseph Quinn, who's very good as well, Cosmo Jarvis, Michael Gandolfini's in it as well, Kit Connor, Noah Centino, Charles Melton as well. It's a really good collection of kind of young actors. You get to see the kind of the brotherhood that they've formed as well throughout the movie. I think that was really built. They put them, as they always do with these kind of war movies, through an intensive boot camp. But you've obviously got the people actually involved in what happened in this movie doing that for them. So, I think only two of the names remain the same. All the rest were changed, but ultimately people from the original platoon were involved in this, and Mendoza obviously being the main one. The reviews have mostly been positive. I know some pointed to the propaganda element of it with everything that the Iraq War represented. There's, at least for me, an acceptance in this film of the devastation that was left for the people who live there. And especially in this film, it's about the people that live in the building that just kind of get caught in it all. And the hollow promises they get, oh, it's all right, you'll be fine, kind of thing. For me, this was more about war itself and what it does to those asked to carry out the orders from people above, and also those caught up in it. And there's no sense that this was like a major mission during the war or anything, or the conflict. It just shows you the horrors that were involved on a kind of a ground level. And, it's important that these soldiers get to tell their stories as well. And like I said, having one of them there in the main seat as a co-director kind of thing, and with a very visceral co-director alongside them, it brings you the horror of it rather than feeling just this is a representation of what would have happened. I think it cost around $20 million to make, $33 million it made at the box office, and it's a hell of an experience, I would say that. It's, like I say, it's not a pleasant film. You're going to go into it kind of feeling better about anything. And look, there is the aspect of it being told from an American point of view, absolutely. But it just gives you this insight into the hell, really, of what it must be like in such situations, which obviously many of us can only imagine. Very different next film on streaming, which was also on Apple, same as F1, and that's Fly Me to the Moon. Very, very different kind of Apple film, of course. Got a cinema release first, actually, which was similar to F1, I suppose. It's directed by Greg Berlanti, who has this long and influential career in TV, but he's also been writing and producing and directing in Hollywood for years. It's written by Rose Gilroy, who's actually the daughter of Rene Russo and Dan Gilroy, who's a writer-director. It was meant to be directed by Jason Bateman until he left due to creative differences. It was meant to have Chris Evans in it opposite Scarlett Johansson, but he had to pull out due to scheduling conflicts, and in came Channing Tatum. And yeah, I just realised Scarlett Johansson's coming up twice in this video as well. Other little characters on the side, you've got Ray Romano's in there, Woody Harrelson turns up in the small little roles. It's essentially about the Apollo 11 mission to the moon. That's kind of the central point to it. It's a little bit before as well, but mainly about that mission. And it's got Scarlett Johansson as Kelly Jones, an advertising executive with a little bit of a shady or different past, let's put it, who's tasked first with raising awareness and advertising revenue for this very underfunded venture to the moon, which is all being led by Tatum's Cole Davis, who's the launch director, who doesn't really want anything to do with this until he realises it's actually helping him. And then she's tasked with creating a fake version of the moon landing in case they fail in this race against the Russians to get to the moon. It's okay. It's okay. It's nothing special. It's charming enough. It's charming enough for a night in, a kind of a Saturday night movie kind of thing. It looks lovely on the screen. It's got some fun moments. There's a nice, charming chemistry between Tatum and Johansson as well. They're both very watchable leads. Of course, they are. I saw Channing Tatum trailer for his Roof Man coming out. Looks really good as well. And yeah, even middle of the road fare like this, they can take it that little bit extra because of the quality they bring to it. Like I said, it was meant to be originally a straight to release Apple TV streamer, but some really strong test screenings they had meant that it went out at the cinema, and I think it made back $42 million off of the $100 million budget. So bearing in mind they weren't going to get any of that back, I suppose, originally from a box office perspective, I guess that's a good thing. Blast from the Past movie is Bull Durham. I'm going to try and do a Blast from the Past movie every week if I can, or every episode of this. Which, funnily enough, I watched before Formula One and then swiftly realised while I was watching Formula One, or F1, there's actually quite a lot of similarities in the themes of the two movies. Bull Durham, if you're not aware, 1988 baseball movie starring Kevin Costner, Susan Sarandon and Tim Robbins. The similarities are because it's about an older, grizzled veteran of this sport having to help out a rookie that they don't particularly like or get on with. And yeah, it's a different sport, of course, but it's along those lines. And I think the difference here is you've got Susan Sarandon in a kind of a meteor role in between the two of them, and she is brilliant as Annie, the baseball groupie and essentially data analyst way before her time. All three main leads are fantastic. Kevin Costner, he's got, like Brad Pitt, that vibe for me of like a real movie star. It's also all written and directed by Ron Shelton, who brought us other brilliant sports movies like White Men Can't Jump, Tin Cup, which I think is really underrated. I really used to love that film as well. And Bull Durham is based on his experiences in minor league baseball. It's funny, it's raunchy, the sports elements are great as well. I think it's one of those movies where it doesn't really matter if you don't particularly like baseball because it works as either a sports movie or a romantic kind of comedy as well. It's considered nowadays, to be honest, to be one of the best sports movies ever made. It was only made for $9 million back then in 1988 and made $51 million at the box office, which obviously hell of a lot more in today's terms. Ron Shelton's screenplay was nominated for an Oscar and won a Writers Guild of America award. Susan Sarandon was nominated for a Golden Globe for it. And like I said, you don't have to like baseball. It's just a really terrific film. So that's it. That's the bunch for this week. A really kind of different and diverse group of films. Big blockbusters, smaller films, small budgets, massive budgets. And yeah, I wouldn't say I disliked any movie at all out of this bunch. Everyone kind of, even, probably Fly Me to the Moon was the lowest on the scale for me, but even that was okay. But yeah, I really enjoyed my cinema trips as well. They were proper popcorn blockbuster trips. I really enjoyed them. What have we got coming up? I've still got to watch 28 Years Later. Haven't been able to get to see that. It's been very divisive had one friend who absolutely hated it, and I've had other people tell me they thought it was excellent. So I kind of really want to get down there and watch it just to see before it gets out of the cinema to see what my take on it all is. I need to probably watch 28 Days Later. I haven't seen that in a long time. I don't think 28 months later is the middle one, wasn't it? Is as important, I don't think. So I got that. Then, like I say, Superman, got the IMAX screening booked July the 11th. I'm hoping it's really good. Oh, fingers crossed. He is, as I've said before, my favourite of the DC characters, my favourite comic book character, to be honest. I know some people want the ones that are a bit darker and a bit more kind of other sides to them, but Supes was always the man for me when I was growing up. Always the kind of the hero that I just loved. Feels like they're really, really promoting it. They are. They obviously don't want it to tank the new kind of DC universe. I hope it's really good. It's got a really interesting cast, and James Gunn, if it's in the vein of the Guardians movies, which I love, then Suicide Squad was okay. I'd prefer it to be more in the vein of Guardians to that, to be honest. Then after that, we've got Friendship with Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson's out, which looks really interesting. There's a new I Know What You Did Last Summer coming out. Fantastic Four. Had a trailer for that, and actually had a trailer for The Odyssey. Christopher Nolan's new film with Matt Damon, Tom Holland, John Bernthal popped up in a trailer as well. It looks really interesting. There's a new Naked Gun. I should say The Odyssey, I don't think is until it is a year's time. But Fantastic Four's out soon. The new Naked Gun with Liam Neeson. Really spooky looking Weapons is coming out as well. Some really good ones. Hopefully, again, because of the amount of movies coming out, I'll be able to do another movie in not the ridiculous time jump between them. This one's come a little bit quicker, but hopefully we'll rattle on with some more spoiler-free movie reviews for you. But hopefully there's some in there that will make you want to go and see them, and some of them that might make you think, nah, I'm all right, actually. You can, I'll leave those. Time to head off. As always, look after yourselves, stay healthy, stay safe, and most of all, keep watching those movies.